Hey guys, Baddies Africa episode 12 review slash recap. If you're watching me on TikTok, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube. And if you're watching me on YouTube, make sure you follow me on TikTok. So this episode kicks off with episode 11 left off. Ivori and Dolly are about to fight after Dolly hit Ivori in the club for choking her. Natalie's so weird because the first thing you hear when this episode comes on is she's talking about Rolly, stop, Rolly, stop. And you hear Rolly in the background like, girl, why are you calling me? I'm not even doing nothing. Anyway, the first round that they had, I feel like was pretty much even. I feel like at the beginning, Ivori was getting Dolly and she definitely was using her weight and rushing Dolly. But then by the end, when they got on the floor, Dolly did end up on top and was kind of making Ivori up. So they both had, Ivori had the beginning, Dolly had the end of that first round. So Ivori was mad. She wanted to go again. I do think she wanted to go again because she knew she hadn't done her best. And a part of why she wasn't doing her best in these fights was because she was so drunk. But anyway, Dolly didn't want a second round. She starts running in the house towards the kitchen. And Pretty P said at her confessional, Dolly, why are you running in the house after the fight? Are you scared? Are you trying to go get something? And Pretty P was right because Dolly ran to the kitchen to try to grab a KNIFE. The same reason that they call you Michael Myers, huh? And in my opinion, Ivori was absolutely right in what she said. Yes, Dolly was right to say, oh, I don't want you choking me. But when you decided to punch Ivori like that to the ground in the club, you had to be ready for what comes after that. So yeah, Ivori was wrong. And she's standing on it. Like, okay, you feel a way about me choking you and you hit me? Cool, let's fight. Dolly got to be on the same type of timing. Like, okay, yeah, I knocked you down in the club because you choked me. So now I'm not ducking the fade. Like, you have to fight her now. Not run in the house and grab something like you about to pull a meatball. And y'all already know Dolly getting least valuable baddie this episode. I don't care if she won the fight or not. I'm on her ass about morals. Because the same way y'all was mad as fans when Meatball grabbed that blade to get J.O., y'all need to be mad at Dolly for ducking his fade and going and grabbing a... So at this moment, Ivori and Pretty P are looking all over the house for Dolly. I guess they don't know that she's hiding out in the kitchen. So while Ivori is trying to find Dolly, we see Summer getting into it with people because what else is she going to do? So first we see Summer and K-Rican get into a fight. That fight wasn't really clear. Like the camera angle wasn't that good. But I would say at the beginning, it looked like Summer was getting K-Rican. But by the end, it looked like K-Rican kind of sat Summer down. Either Summer tripped into the couch or she got pushed into the couch. But she ended up down. Then Cole K decides that she wants to fight Summer. Summer's like, okay, bring it on. I can't really say who won that fight in my opinion. It wasn't clear. They both was kind of windmilling. But it looked like Summer might have bopped Cole K on that head a few more times than Cole K bopped Summer. So the whole time, Fauna is standing behind Cole K and K-Rican, and Lex is standing behind Summer. You know, they just gonna stand behind their friends, but as of now, they're not really saying too much. Then it sounded like Cole K tried to tell Lex that Summer or Dolly said it's only one B at the top. So I guess, they trying to tell Lex either Summer or Dolly or both of them not really your friends. Lex wasn't trying to hear that. She said, don't try to tell me what it is and what it ain't about me and my B's. I know what's up. And I'm not even gonna lie, Dolly basically left Summer and Lex for dead, like to get jumped. And Lex said, I don't know where Dolly is right now, but my head is on a swivel because it's just me and Summer out here with all these bees against us, and Dolly's nowhere to be found. Dolly trying to get out the kitchen with the pokey, the security telling her she can't go. She like, oh, you know how many bees against me? You know how many bees against me? Like you and your friends don't be jumping. And y'all be jumping weak links like Scotty. So what? Ivori still asking production and Natalie, where's Dolly at? And Cole K like, yeah, where is she? She tucking her tail. Now, some of the stuff Cole K was making sense, but she was too loud and she was yelling way too much for me this episode. She really needs to shut up. All of a sudden, she starts talking to Summer, telling Summer she don't get no respect in her city and how she's so respected in the Midwest, this, that, and the third. Like, we really don't care. I mean, we do know Summer don't get no respect where she's from. Jasmine said that last season that they was both from, I believe, Detroit, and nobody knew Summer, but everybody knew Jasmine. So she's speaking facts, but it's just unnecessary and it's loud and it's stupid. So Summer had tried to get to Cole K again, but the security didn't let that happen. Natalie comes into the kitchen with Dolly talking about, are you okay, sis? I'm not letting you go out there, this, that, and the third. Dolly's breaking down crying like a PUSSY because she don't want to go out there and face Ivori. And it's crazy because you didn't do bad the first time and Ivori's still drunk. So you better go out there and fight now while she's drunk because when sober Ivori gets you like she did at the reunion, the Midwest reunion, it's not going to be funny. And Natalie's so fake because in front of Dolly, when she first walked in, she was like, are you okay, sis? I'm not letting you go out there. But in her confessional, she going to say, oh, Dolly talking about she's over it. She's not fighting Ivori. I don't know what to tell her because Ivori waiting at the door. So which one is it? Are you not going to let her fight Ivori or are you going to make her fight Ivori? and my whole thing is Dolly still popping it crazy in there with Natalie talking about she'll spit on Ivori, mom grave and everything. And Natalie was telling her chill. Because how you saying all that but you won't go outside and face that? And I just be tired of Dolly trying to make herself seem like this small, soft character. She keeps saying she a chihuahua and Ivori's a Rottweiler. But then when you be fighting people like Cole K, you be like, oh, I'm a monster. I'm a monster. Nobody wanted with me. So which one is it? Because you're definitely not soft and you're definitely not small. The only thing about you is that you're fragile. So Natalie's telling Dolly, like, what you want to do. If you don't want to run it tonight, you don't have to, this, that, and the third. And Dolly, like, yeah, let me heal up. My hand is messed up. So again, fragile Dolly, broken Dolly, sad Dolly, selectively injured Dolly. So now all of a sudden her hand is messed up. She can't fight no more. So Natalie, like, okay, cool. Everybody should be able to go to bed and we could just continue this, tomorrow. It'll be next week's episode. She made a joke. So then we see Ivori, Scotty, etc. And Scotty was basically telling Ivori that Natalie said Dolly was crying in the kitchen. And Ivori was like, F that crying. I still want that now. So basically, Ivori's not trying to hear nothing Natalie's saying as far as, oh, we could dead this for now and y'all can fight tomorrow. Ivori's like, no, I need that now. So Lex and Summer come over, and in my opinion, they was reasoning with Ivori and trying to talk it out with her a little bit too much. Because if it was somebody else like a Tavy or a Fauna, they would not have been talking it out like that. Cole, K, Rick, and anybody else, Summer and Lex would have been on that. In fact, I feel like Lex would have took the fade for Dolly, since Dolly is hiding and claiming she's injured, like she took the fade when Dolly said she was injured with Tavy. So it's like, Lex, why you ain't take this fade? You done fought Ivori a million times, so I know you're not scared. So if you taking fades for Dolly when it comes to Tavy, why you not taking fades for Dolly when it comes to Ivori? Why are you and Summer sitting here reasoning with her and trying to make her hear y'all side? So Ivori was basically saying she don't feel like she put her hands on nobody. She was like, the same way I choked Dolly, I choked Scotty and Natalie. And she demonstrated it on Scotty. And you could see Scotty face child. But Summer and Lex was basically saying, we understand that. And clearly Summer was like, I didn't take it too seriously when you did it. But everybody's not like me. Dolly wasn't playing that, and you know that you and her not really that cool, so you do got to understand that, which I said last week on my episode review for episode 11, like, Ivori should have never choked Dolly, because everybody's not going to play with you like that. But Fauna said what I said. She feel like Lex and Summer picking and choosing, because why y'all not taking this fade for Dolly now? But any other time, y'all ready to take a fade for each other. And you could tell that Scotty was low-key turned on by Ivori choking her. She said it's something about when Ivori get mad, she be giving N-word and B-word at the same time. And Scotty gonna say, I don't go that way, but I don't know. It be kind of doing something to me. Girl, you definitely do go that way. We saw you and Natalie OnlyFans. Why y'all both be trying to act like we never saw that? Now, I do feel like in this moment, Scotty was playing EP a little bit more than Natalie was, but she wasn't really making sense. She's obviously biased, and she's on the opposite side of Dolly, Lex, and Summer. So she was basically saying, I don't understand why, if Summer was able to accept what Ivori did, why is Dolly making such a big deal? And Lex said, well, Dolly's on 10. Like, exactly what I said, Scotty. You can't expect everybody to take that from somebody that they not cool with. They don't know if the person is playing or not. They might feel like the person is trying to sun them or embarrass them in public. Like, Ivori doing that to Dolly, knowing that they wasn't on good terms, was not a good idea, period. But Scotty was making sense as far as pointing out the hypocrisy of the quote-unquote big three, and how Dolly is complaining about Ivori being funny in the club, but Dolly be doing messy stuff in the club. How she snatched the mic from K. Rican. How she started with Jayla in the club last season. So Dolly herself has done too much in clubs and at hostings to be complaining about Ivori doing something at a club or at a hosting. So I did understand where she was coming from with that point. So DTB is yelling at Natalie and basically saying, when it came to Tavy, Dolly fought Tavy like 10 times. She stood in the paint every time. So what's the difference with Ivori? Now, all of a sudden, Pretty P says in her confessional, you know what, Summer? I just feel like I need that again. My watch is still broke and I'm about to pop on this beat. I feel like Pretty P needed a moment before she left to her grandfather's funeral. No shade. So Pretty P pops on Summer. She only swung twice, and I don't think either one of her hits connected. The first one had a lot of force behind it, but I think Summer blocked it. So now DTB is yelling in Natalie's face again and basically saying, Cole K got heart. She don't duck no smoke. When Tavy wanted to fight Cole K and she was way bigger than her, Cole K kept getting out there with her like 20 times. But Dolly is out here ducking fades from Ivori. So Ivori basically said, if you don't bring that beat out, it's going to be a problem. And that's with everybody. So at that point, Natalie was like, okay, you know what? Let me just go get Dolly. Because she don't want Ivori to turn on her ass. So Natalie goes back into the kitchen with Dolly. And now she's telling her, okay, well, you definitely are going to have to run that with Ivori tonight. Sorry. They basically said they're not going to let you go to sleep if you don't. So Natalie was like, just go out there, run it with Ivori, and then go upstairs and go to bed. And you're not going to have to fight nobody else. So you could tell, again, that Dolly really didn't want to fight Ivori again. Like, low-key giving scary when, like I said, I don't know why, because she didn't do bad in the fights. But she was, like, huffing and puffing and jumping up and down like she was preparing for a boxing match. And she was like, fine, Natalie, I'll run it one more time. So she runs out there. Her and Ivori get it. Now, Dolly definitely got that round, in my opinion. When she came in, she kind of put Ivori in a headlock from the back of her neck. And she was using the other hand to kind of just uppercut Ivori. So Ivori was not getting that, again, because I feel like she was drunk. I feel like Ivori's best bet was actually to have gone to sleep after the first round, slept it off, and then fought Dolly the next day when she was sober. And I think she would have done better. Then at the end of this round, Dolly was kind of on top of Ivori again, making her up and like kicking her while they was breaking it up. So yeah, Dolly definitely got that second round. I will say that Dolly was leaking. Like, you could see something was going on in her mouth in this photo after the round, though. So Ivori did get some hits in, and Dolly was in pain. She was screaming that Ivori bit her nipple. But I don't feel bad because Dolly done said that she was digging people eyeballs out in fights. She said she was about to bite somebody's face off. So, girl, please. So Natalie's yelling and screaming. It's time for everybody to go to bed. That's it. Cold K is still going off about Dolly, saying that she's injured and not wanting to fight. Mind you, at this point, Dolly and Ivori already fought again. So why is Cold K still screaming? This is my point. Like, she was getting on my nerves. Like I said, I get Cold K's position. I get why she was mad. Dolly has been coming at her and her friends much more easily than she's coming at Ivori because she feels like they're weaker links. So she feel like Dolly don't really want to get into it with the heavy hitters, or she be ducking the heavy hitters. But the screaming and shit is too much for me, babe. And DTB was basically just saying in her confessional that she didn't really feel like it was safe for everybody to sleep in the house this night because Dolly was still on 10, Ivori was still on 10, even after they went the second round. And she said, realistically, the person who's supposed to be controlling everything is not doing anything. Cough, cough, Natalie. And you see Natalie on the side talking about some clock it while she's on her way out the door because she don't stay in the house. So Ivori was saying in her confessional that she was still drunk, but she knows she won the fight. I'm not going to lie, Ivori, you did not win this fight, sadly. But she said she's on Dolly's ass for the rest of the season. So Ivori was still crashing out, and then they basically just cut the scene off. So the next day, we get all of these conversation scenes with the groups that are in the house, and we start off with Ivori, DTB, and Pretty P. So Ivori kind of said that she feel like Summer came back, and that's what got Dolly back on this energy that she want to have beef with Ivori and the other girls. Ivori said that while Summer wasn't there, her and Dolly had sit-down conversations. They've been cordial, and Dolly was basically saying she didn't want to fight Ivori. Then we cut to Summer, Dolly, and Lex, and Summer was basically saying last night was crazy, and she can't believe Ivori kept running up and wanting to fight over and over again, even though she was losing. Dolly gonna say, I just feel like Ivori was picking with me. That's what you call that where I'm from. You coming down to my section where I'm not bothering you, stepping on my white ones. That's disrespectful, this, that, and the third. The same way you came into Jayla's section in the club on Midwest, trying to pop your shit and get in her way. And then when y'all ended up fighting, you was playing innocent, saying Jayla should have never hit you in the club. See, Dolly's a hypocrite. That's why I can't really get into her. Like, Summer, Dolly, and Lex have literally became everything that they said and complained about the OGs being last season times 10. And they don't even have the amount of seasons or time on the show under their belt to be doing all of that. And Lex says she don't feel like Ivori is neutral because when it come down to it, she do be choosing a side when the fights happen, like coaching Tavy and stuff like that. But my whole thing is, Lex, why you haven't been on that with Ivori this whole season like you was last season? If you feel away and you feel like she not neutral and she's still getting into it with your friends, she done fought Dolly and Summer this season. Why she ain't fight you yet? Why y'all so cool if you feel like she not neutral? And then back to Ivori, DTB, and Pretty P. Ivori was just saying she can't believe that Dolly tried to grab a pokey. And from there, we get to Fauna, Cold K, and K. Rican sitting down. So K. Rican was basically saying that Dolly and them was picking and choosing, even Lex and Summer, because like I said, they was explaining themselves to Ivori. But if it was these three, they wouldn't have been doing that. Then we see Choco and Elsie sitting down, and it's clear that these two are forming an alliance. They said it's not just because they African. Elsie says she feel like Choco was the only one who really took time to get to know her. I'm glad that they cool because they are the only two African girls in the house, so it is a cute alliance, but it's just crazy to me because when Choco came in, she was definitely throwing shade at Elsie. And I did respect what Choco said as far as Elsie can't fight. So I think she's still saying Elsie could get her one-on-ones, but if anybody jump in, she not having that. And I'm here for that because like I told y'all last episode, I didn't understand why Cold K and K. Rican was even attempting to jump Elsie. She's not somebody who needs to be jumped. So now Dolly playing stupid. She like, oh, I don't understand why all these girls against us. And Lex was like, yeah, well, none of them like us. Dolly gonna say we didn't do nothing to them. Y'all started with Cold K, Fauna, and K. Rican on that bus. You and Summer. Then as far as Pretty P, Summer and Dolly, y'all started with her at the beginning of the season too. Summer threw her watch and stuff in the pool. Mind you, y'all started with DTB as well. Because from episode 1, DTB was the one telling Ivori and Pretty P to make up with y'all because y'all had new girls that y'all had to worry about coming in. So y'all started these problems with all these girls, but now because everybody against y'all, you acting like you don't know why. Dolly, please. Play your villain role like you want to be. So here comes Tavy to join DTB, Pretty P, and Ivori. She got this ice pack on her eye. And when she took it off, her eye looked crazy as hell. DTB was laughing. So Tavy saying what a lot of other people been saying, which is that Summer really runs Dolly and Lex. She's the ringleader. They work for her. And it's funny how Dolly was saying Summer is the weakest link. She is the weakest link as far as fighting between the three of y'all. But Tavy's not wrong when she say it seemed like y'all work for her. Then Cole K was saying she don't know why Summer tried to bring up her baby daddy like she was going to cause her and Marissa to fight. And I'm glad they didn't fight on summertime, because it's like, bitch, if we said we was coming in this house to not beef, none of y'all bitches going to make us beef. So like Fauna said, they handled themselves very well. Then Choco asked Elsie if she was surprised how Russian just popped on her like that. And Elsie said, no, I know I got to keep my head on the swivel when it come to Russian. We the two names that was up on the shopping block. And she said, I feel like Russian had to do that because I wasn't going home regardless, because in my opinion, I've done more than Russian. And I would agree with that. Elsie has had more storylines and brought more to the show than Russian, even though Elsie can't fight, gets on my nerves, and all she does is scream. And like I said, I don't know why Choco and Elsie keep bringing up the fact that they African as a reason they can't go home. Especially when they both said they've been watching Baddies. So if y'all been watching Baddies, y'all know that Dia went home on Baddies Caribbean. Got sent home. So why y'all think y'all can't, I don't know. Now, here comes Russian talking about she just got back from the hospital, and the first thing she came to do was see Lex, Summer, and Dolly like they really her friends. Dolly is the only one out of her, Lex, and Summer that seems to be clocking that Russian is not a real bitch. Oh, and if y'all didn't see, I posted a clip on TikTok. Russian Cream auditioned for season 5 of Jocelyn's Cabaret with Hennessy and Rose. I was rewatching season 5 before season 6 dropped, and I peeped that. So that's just a little fun fact, Easter egg for y'all. But Russian was basically in the room with them agreeing that Ivori is not neutral. And Dolly said in her confessional, I don't know why Russian is coming in here running her mouth to us, but she didn't say nothing about Ivori not being neutral when we was all downstairs yesterday. Because Russian don't want that with Ivori. Russian don't want that with nobody. And she's really not going to have y'all back. She just going to be up under y'all ass and hope that y'all going to protect her if anybody come against her. Ivori lets it be known she still needs that with Dolly, especially because Dolly tried to grab the pokey. Pretty P is announcing for the 5th time that she's finally leaving to go to her grandfather's funeral. Go. I feel like Pretty P should have not even announced it that early, because it took you way too long to leave. Y'all should have announced it now, because you're leaving now or next episode. Like, come on. And then Ivori was asking Pretty P if she was going to come back, and she was basically saying she don't know. But from what we saw, I think she does come back. Okay, and then finally, the last of these sit-down conversations, we have Natalie and Scotty. So Scotty basically said that she felt like Ivori was being a team player, trying to dance with everybody in the club, and Dolly hit her for no reason. And she said, in general, I feel like Dolly been provoking people and antagonizing people. And Natalie agreed. She said Dolly definitely been on some shit, but that's because she don't got her chain. And Scotty said, okay, well, whose fault is that? Or like, why she don't got her chain? And Natalie said, well, the way she acting, she not gonna get one. And Natalie talking about, yeah, they did break a baddie rule. They not supposed to be fighting in the club, but I'm gonna let it slide for now. When don't you let it slide? When do you stand on business and put your foot down, Natalie? Never. And Natalie was basically saying, well, I really don't know how to make the fight and stop at this point, because even after Dolly gave Tavy her chain back, Tavy popped on her again, which is true. At this point, people just fed up with Dolly and Summer, period. Then Natalie tells Scotty they're going to be going to like this ninja warrior place where they're going to have an obstacle course. And Natalie basically says maybe whoever finishes the obstacle course tonight could get a baddie chain. Scotty said, what if they already have one? And Natalie was like, well, they don't get another one. Scotty gonna say, that's not fair. What you want a second baddie chain for, Scotty? You already got a second one that you put on Capri. You forgot? So all the girls are on their way downstairs to meet up so they can head to this ninja warrior activity. Ivori comes down the stairs, squaring up, throwing hands like she ready to fight. So Ivori said this long ass bitch, Lex, came down the stairs. This crummy ass bitch, Summer, came down the stairs. And this injured reserve bitch, Dolly, came down the stairs. Mind you, Dolly comes down the stairs literally PC'd up, security surrounding her. But that just goes to show me Ivori is definitely willing to still get it on with Lex if she needs to. So my whole thing is what I said already. Lex, why didn't you take that fade for Dolly? Like you took Tavy's fade with Dolly. So Summer's walking by Ivori. Ivori is damn near all in her face, grilling her shit. Like, girl, what do you want to do? She was definitely checking temperatures. And then Pretty P was sitting there like, oh, Summer's here. She's looking at me. And I think she's mad because I popped on her yesterday. So she basically asked Summer, do you need that? They squared up to start fighting again. That round was extremely fast. If you ask me, nobody got that. So now Summer like, yeah, you keep running up and getting your ass beat. And Pretty P was like, you didn't whoop me. So they end up going for another round. P lost that round in my opinion. I'm not saying Summer did her big one, because most of what she did was because she pulled Pretty P's wig. As you see, the wig is off after that round. But Summer got that round in my opinion. So Lex was helping Summer fix her hair, and Summer was like, yeah, I'm tired of these same old fades with these same beads. And Pretty P said, yeah, well, I'm still mad because my watch is broke. I got it back, but it's broke. Natalie gonna say, yeah, it is. Natalie, why you ain't get it fixed? Like, you said you had her. You said you was gonna make sure she was good. Why you ain't get her watch fixed, Natalie? And Pretty P was saying, yeah, I decided I don't want to be cool no more. So what? Lex gonna say in her confessional, I'm confused. When did Summer and Pretty P get cool for her to not want to be cool no more? Lex, you wasn't there, but Dolly and Summer definitely came in Pretty P's face outside when they both fought Cole K and Summer threw that powder on Cole K. In that same scene, Dolly and Summer asked Pretty P to squash the beef and said, oh, this is last year's beef. This is last season's beef. We don't need to do this no more. So it was your friends that wanted to squash the beef. Clock that. So the ladies are finally heading out to the ninja place, getting into their two groups and their two buses. And Choco was just saying she's tired of these girls always fighting. They can't go outside without a fight. They can't head to an event without a fight. And the girls just never know how to act. Okay, so on this bus, we have Summer, Lex, Dolly, Choco, Elsie, and Russian. And on this bus, we have Scotty, Ivori, Fauna, Pretty P, Tavy, Cole K, K Rican, and I'm assuming DTB and Rolly are on this bus as well, because I don't see them over here. So on the bus with Summer, they basically still talking about they don't understand why Pretty P thought that they was ever cool. And Dolly said, why would you want to be cool with a bee who broke your watch? Actually, Dolly, you went up to Pretty P and said you wanted to dead the beef. She said she would dead it with you because you didn't touch her watch. She told Summer that she was going to get Summer at some point in this. She said, we could be cool for now. You want to dead it for now. Summer was all smiling in her face. So I don't know why Summer playing stupid. You wanted to be that girlfriend. And she told you from the beginning, I'm going to whoop your ass before the season is over. I'm going to fight you before the season is over. We not cool like that. And the same way Ivori is coaching her side and we see improvements in some of the girls on her side's fighting skills, I feel like Lex is coaching Summer and Dolly. And that's why we see improvements in Summer especially. Because she was literally on the bus telling them like, oh, Ivori, this is how Ivori fights. Y'all know I know how she fights. She's going to throw punches for 2 to 3 seconds and then she's going to rush you and use her weight, which is true. But she's telling Summer and Dolly that so that if they go up against Ivori again, they can know what to do. Dolly still talking about as soon as her hand heal, her and Ivori could run it again. Tavy was on the other bus basically saying Summer gonna go on social media thinking she the new eater now. And K Rican was like, who is she eating? Summer can't fight. I don't understand this hoe. But it's like neither one of y'all can fight. So I could definitely see Summer thinking she ate you because y'all fight the same. Then Lex asked Russian about her sneaking Elsie, and she said, you know, I feel like Elsie should have expected it. The whole day they was clearly trying to get us to fight, and it was one of us that was up for the chopping block. Like one of us was going home. So they made it where it was me against her, and I'm gonna fight for my spot. And Elsie was like, yeah, I understand. I just got to keep my head on a swivel when it comes to you and I can't trust you. And Russian said, yeah, I wouldn't trust me either if I was Elsie because she know, like, we the two weakest links of the house and it's always going to be me versus her when it comes to a conversation of who's going home. And Elsie was talking about some, yeah, I have to learn how to trust you again. No, you shouldn't trust her. That's the point. And you know, Scotty saying she's tired of all the drama and she's hoping that this could be a good activity, but she's seeing that pretty much everybody on her bus is not excited to be going to this activity, and they all basically saying they ready to fight somebody. Dolly obviously don't want to fight because she's still talking about that hand is messed up, but she said she definitely won't be participating in no activity. I feel like you could have just stayed home since you said your hand was messed up. You clearly can't do no Ninja Warrior activity, so what are you even here for? Stay home and heal. And Scotty basically was like, okay, so Diamond, you really just behind Ivori. Like, you just with whatever that Ivori is with. And DTB said, yeah. And then K Rican said, yeah, we all behind each other. So clearly, the big three, Summer, Lex, and Dolly, might have some problems. Because it seems like this 3 and 3 has become the big 6. Ivori, DTB, and Pretty P, along with K Rican, Cole K, and Fauna. They're the big 6. So as they walking into the ninja place, everybody is kind of positioning themselves. Like Summer is telling Dolly and Lex to get on her side. Everybody want to make sure they not around the ops, and it's clearly a lot of tension. So as soon as Ivori walks in, she's like, what we doing? And she's basically calling Dolly out like she wants that. Now again, Ivori is continuously bothering Dolly about this fade and she's injured. Lex is not standing up and saying, you know what, I'll take that. The same way she did with Tavy. And I saw some people saying, oh, well, Lex probably know if she fight Ivori, that's still not going to fix the issue with Dolly and Ivori. Did Lex fight and Tavy fix the issue with Dolly and Tavy? No. Tavy still fought Dolly mad times until she got her chain back. So what's the difference? And Rolly was like, just when I thought these girls could put on their big girl pants and we could have a good time, I was proven wrong. That's the last thing on these girls' minds. So Ivori basically saying Dolly's ducking smoke. She's a pussy asshole. She always claimed injured reserve at convenient times for herself, which is all true. And Dolly basically was saying, Ivori, you haven't been neutral. You've been rolling with them other girls. And Ivori said, I've been cordial. Now, I do feel like she's been cordial because cordial means that she hasn't been really just straight out beefing with Dolly, Summer, and Lex. So I will say she's been cordial, but she hasn't been neutral because when it do come down to it, you do be rooting Tavy on. You do be rooting Cole K on. You be telling them to do their shit in these fights against Dolly, Summer, and Lex. You be coaching them in these fights against Dolly, Summer, and Lex. So they don't need to mix up the two because being neutral and being cordial are not the same thing. And Ivori was like, you want to stab me, Dolly? All right, I got you. And Dolly was basically like, I'll stab anybody who against me, this, that, and the third. Then Cole K starts yelling, okay, if you don't want to fight Ivori, then fight me. You ducking Ivori, but I know you'll fight me, right? Then Ivori looks over at Choco, and I guess she felt like Choco was pacing back and forth. So she asked Choco, like, what you on? Why you pacing back and forth? And Choco basically just said, you know, I'm just walking in front of Elsie, protecting Elsie. You know, my girl can't fight, and I'm just making sure she good. And Choco was in her confessional like, I don't know why Ivori is starting with me. So Cole K was still yelling at Dolly like, okay, you don't want to fight Ivori, fight me. Next thing you know, Summer pops on Cole K. And then you just see everybody swinging, literally. And the episode ends there. Like, everybody starts fighting. So remember, I told y'all my most valuables are not based off who won the fight. It's just based off who I agreed with the most. So my most valuable new G for episode 12 is going to be Ivori, and my least valuable new G is going to be Dolly. Yes, Dolly won the fight against Ivori, and yes, I understood where Dolly was coming from on episode 11 about Ivori choking her. But once Dolly did what she did, she needed to stand on that and not run into the kitchen to grab a knife. My most valuable OG for this episode was DTB. My least valuable OG for this episode was Natalie. My most valuable newbie for this episode was Choco. And my least valuable newbie for this episode was Russian. Okay, guys, so that's my Baddies Africa episode 12 review slash recap. If you're watching me on TikTok, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube. If you're watching me on YouTube, make sure you follow me on TikTok. Like, comment, share, and subscribe on both platforms. And my next videos coming up will be Baddies Going Wild reunion trailer recap, Jocelyn's Cabaret California episode 1 review slash recap, and Baddies Africa episode 13 review slash recap. So I'll see y'all soon. Bye, guys.